Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our Inter IFAS weekly series on memories of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. We're so excited tonight. We have a new guest, and not really new. However, he is someone that has had a lot of association with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and we're so excited because he's such a dear god brother, dear friend. Advaita Prabhu, he is incredible person that came to Gitanagara on a visit and ended up eventually taking on all kinds of responsibilities. He's going to share with you some of those responsibilities. And we're so grateful. This is Inter IFAST, and we're coming to you from the Institute House in Gitanagara. And as you know, we do these programs every week, and we bring you people that are very happy and excited to be a part of the Bhakti path and a part of bringing awareness to people about spiritual life. So we thank you very much for being here. Advaita Acharya Prabhu, we are welcoming you.
Hari Bol.
Hari Hari,
Yeah.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol. So we welcome
Hare
you
Krishna.
to our Facebook Live. This is our Facebook Live program, and is a series on memories of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. So please share with us, Prabhu, some memories that you may have.
All right, thank you so much for the opportunity. We affectionately greet all of you, everyone, especially both of you, Acharya Prabhu and Madhuraja Lila, and the organizers of this wonderful series of different kinds of live programs from Facebook platform. I want to especially thank the organizers of this memory series that I really hope personally many more devotees will come to share, because there's so much. And my personal apologies to all of my senior god brothers and god sisters who didn't share yet that I'm speaking now before. So, where to start? Well, I want to start asking for blessings from all of you and the entire Vaishnava Sangha, that I might share something from the vast ocean of memories and anecdotes and different ways of mercy that I've been showered by Guru Maharaj and his immediate Vaishnava Sangha there in the Gitanagara project that I spent most of my devotional career while Guru Maharaj was still around. So with those blessings, I hope to share something of value, of importance. So let's see. Oh, I already started before we went live. The way we met actually was through that BTG article. You probably have it. It was, Two Lives of John Favors. Remember that one?
Yes.
And so that, somehow one devotee in Croatia, he heard that I don't even think that I shared. He somehow had a idea that I might like him, but I heard of him, of Guru Maharaj, and then when I saw the article and when I saw the picture, it was like bam. It was like immediate connection there. And what happened when I read that article, I was like, wow, I heard many Prabhupada followers saying the same thing, but the flavor and the style, the way he was actually explaining and talking about the same things really kind of gelled with me, like in all kinds of like different good ways. I was like, wow, this is really amazing. Like his style, his flavor, the way he serves his spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, is really inspiring. So that's how I started with that article. And then later on, one other devotee who, he was my senior there also. I was still a student, and he heard about that I was attracted to Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. So he gave me, I didn't know what's coming, but he gave me this micro tape of Navadip Mandal Purikram. I think Jagannath Pandit has that tape too. So if you wanna, as a reference, you can ask him what I'm talking about. He's full of tapes, full of nectar. Yes. So I put that on. I was on my way to do some errands at the downtown of Split, Croatia, the town I'm from. And I was on public transport, and then I put that tape on, and it was just like different, now I did Mandal Purikram, different devotees speaking. Japataka, his one Japataka Maharaj was there. And that at one point it was on the topic of Chandkazi. And at one point he passed the mic to Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and I was sitting in a bus in a public transport, and I kind of perked. Well, wow, this Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj is about to speak. I didn't know that devotee kind of set me up. His Grace Venugopal Prabhu, and which I'm eternally indebted to that move and kindness of his. So when Guru Maharaj started speaking, in first 10 seconds, I broke down actually. In just first 10 seconds, it was so intense, because he was talking about Sankirtan movement, and he was talking about Chandkazi, and he had that kind of phrase like a mantra, who can stop the Sankirtan movement? And it was like not a rhetorical, it was somewhat a semi-rhetorical question, but you could hear from the audience like nobody. So he just built on that. He was just building on that, repeating the same phrase. And every time he repeated, it was like this wave of ecstatic response from devotees. Nobody, and every time it was louder and louder. So we're just building it like a wave. And he was he was just riding it like a master. Who can stop the Sankirtan movement? And then it was another wave of nobody. And who can stop the Sankirtan movement? It was like devotees were responding. And I broke down, I was crying because I felt, what I felt is like that, well, here's a person who really cares. That was what was coming across in an extraordinary, strong way from his, not what he was saying, but how he was saying, and what was the feeling, the emotion that was attached to what was he saying. That, wow, he's a person who genuinely, deeply cares. And although I was in a bus and surrounded by people, I didn't care that I was crying. And I felt like he snatched me, like I was his. So that was a very intense personal experience that I'm sharing with all of you, and I don't mind. Because I'm looking at my friends and my spiritual parents, both of you, Ekavira Prabhu and Rajulila. So I'm feeling comfortable.
Okay.
The rest was kind of like a history, I guess, because at that point I made an effort to write him a letter. No, actually, sorry, I'm gonna take that back. So what happened after that, that devotee who gave me the BTG article, he went to America somehow. Bhakta Tomitsa, yes. Some of the devotees will remember him. He became Tattvavad, initiated by Ravindra Swarup Prabhu in Philadelphia. So in Philly, he somehow met Kalpavriksha Prabhu. And Kalpa heard about some devotee in Croatia who is aspiring or attracted to Guru Maharaj. So he, on his own, I didn't ask, but just on his own, Kalpavriksha Prabhu, he sent some books to me. So one day, there was a package on my door. We were in Zagreb at that time. I was part of that Jagannath Harinam party. And the books arrived. I was like, wow, what's this? So, and it was, from Kalpa. At that time, I didn't know who Kalpa is, but like, who Kalpa was. But I was like, great, there's a books of Bhakti Tirtha. So I started reading it, and, sure enough, it was like a major boost of, uplifting material that I really dived in. And then like a week later, there was the Prabhupada Marathon of 1998. So I wrote him, immediately I wrote him a thank you note to Guru Maharaj. It was like an email. I wrote him an email, like, thank you note, thank you email, but for writing all these books, or writing all these, like, what he calls it, transient material, a bridge between Prabhupada and, a mass, a public domain. And very soon after that, he responded with the email again, saying, got your email. And immediately he invited, it was like an invitation letter to festival that was coming early on in 99, which was his Vyasa Puja and his project, as he called it, Pennsylvania project of the Institute. And it was through Institute kind of that I got the first letter, first email, then the letter came from the Institute in DC as an invitation letter, based on which I can get the visa to attend that festival. But everything after that letter, like, everything was unfolding like so easy, so fast, like the airfare, the visa. And to mind you, at that time, Croatia just came out of the war, so it wasn't that easy. But everything just unfolded based on his desire. Looking back, I can see now that even himself, later on, when I landed in Washington, D.C., I landed 2 days before he was coming from London. So therefore, I don't know, I think Madhvacharya Prabhu would say, hey, Guru is coming. Would you like to greet him and meet him at the airport? So I think Jambavati was driving, I don't know who else was going, but they gave me a garland, which was in a bag. You can give him this. So I immediately got hooked up. So Jambavati was there, and at the airport, I remember she was there, somebody else, I can't remember, but anyway, she drove. I was so nervous, and meeting him for the first time. And then when he came, even himself was like kind of surprised that I made it, because that was his first kind of comment when he arrived, and he looked, and I think Jambavati introduced me, but anyway, in any case, even if she didn't, he just said, like, he was like surprised, like, wow, you made it. Like even himself was like surprised. So as I was putting the garland on him, he I just made a comment, like, under my lip, with the desire and the mercy of great devotees, anything is possible. That's what I said. And he just smiled. Yeah, he just smiled. So that was the first, in-person meeting. And soon after that, like, we didn't spend much time in Washington, D.C., but like soon after that, we were on our way to Gitanagara, because it was like, festivals coming up. We had to prepare. And I guess you guys were there. The first person we met, like, as we drove, the first person we met was, of course, Bali. No, actually, let me rewind a little bit. We were driving, because it's a funny thing. We were driving, and somebody else came from Europe. Oh, it was Vrindavaneshwari came from England, from Europe, and our god sister from Slovenia, saluting our first lady from Slovenia. It was Madhavi. Remember Madhavi?
Yes.
Yeah, Madhavi from Slovenia. Yes, that was we were in a car driving from Washington, D.C. It was Madhavi, Vrindavaneshwari, and Guru Maharaj was riding next to the driver. Oh boy, who drove? I can't remember who drove. But anyway, we're laughing because as we drove in the farm, just going that first hill right before the Govardhan hill on the right hand side, he was Guru Maharaj was saying, so this is we're entering the Gitanagari Dham now. He was just like giving us a tour, like ad hoc, impromptu tour, just for he can see from the car. So we are arriving now in Gitanagari Dham, and then he folded his hands, said, Shri Shri Radha Damodar Ki Jai, and we all said Jai, and then he said, there are cows here. We have cows to the left. There's Govardhan Hill here to the right. We have further down, you'll see the peacocks. We have tigers. We have elephants. And we all looked at each other. we actually, I don't know about others, but like I bought it. Like I totally bought it. Like it took me like 5 seconds. And then it took me 5 seconds to like, wow, he's like, just look, he's kidding, right? then we all laughed. But in his transcendental vision, he saw many more things that we could possibly see. It was like entering the Jharikanda forest. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and then first, after that curve around the garden, just down that magical, he calls it magical road, right? After the garden towards the temple. Mm-hmm. He called it like mystical, magical part of the road. Right as we entered that kunja, that forest where the temple is, straight up towards the row houses. So we didn't take a right, we went straight up towards the row houses, and it was February, so it was cold, but Bali was there like midway between the entrance and the row houses. So he was the first devotee to meet us and greet us with his, big smile and ecstatic, ecstatic self that he is. So that was the entrance to the Dham. Then the festival took place. We also visited, like he would take us to trips after the festival, like between his Vyasa Puja and in May is a Memorial Day, or like I can't remember now. The Labor Day is in September, right? Yeah. And then May is the Memorial. So there was a Memorial Day weekend festival. So between his Vyasa Puja in February and May, there was a couple of, I think he went a couple of places, but one time he took us to New Vrindavan also. So in New Vrindavan, at one point, like he turned to me and he said, how do you like it here? I said, well, it's nice. It's so much more developed than Gitanagari. And he looked at me, he said, yes, it is. But he said, but pioneering is a double mercy. It just put me on the spot because, he could pick up that, maybe I can't recall now, but maybe I was, complaining how simple Gitanagari was, but missing the point that, it's beautiful in the same time. And to mind you, I just came there, so everything was like, I was still adjusting to the environment. And in comparison, New Vrindavan is more developed, but he was reminding me that when we pioneer, we get double mercy. So, and that reminds me of another thing that we went through a whole ordeal, him and I. And you'll remember that, Rajaguru Martha, that I came to US with the idea, with the whole like Jagannath Harinam party from Croatia to to do the same, which, we toured all around Balkans in Europe with the Harinam party, and we had the idea to do the same in America. So I was just there temporarily in Giranagari just to meet my spiritual master and to move on with the idea to, resume that wonderful service of Harinam party with Kakudmi Prabhu and Mahatattva. Now, he's Maharaj now, Ananda Tirtha, or something like that. I hope he can forgive me. I can't remember his name, Swami name now. And a few others. And I actually expressed that to Guru Maharaj on first darshan, first meeting. He said, "Oh, that's wonderful. That's great," he said. But we have this festival coming in May. If you can help us a little bit. And that was the first time. And then second time, I came to with the same kind of reminder. Guru Maharaj, they're waiting for me. It's been months. They're waiting for me in the West Coast, if I can join them for this important service. We say, "Oh, that's wonderful. That's great." And every time he really buttered me up. So that's wonderful. That's wonderful. But we had this festival in September. I guess it's Labor Day weekend. We just need a little bit more help. And down the road, like just kind of fast forwarding 2 years from when I arrived, I realized, I got second initiation. So what am I doing? Like, I better pay attention to what he's saying or what he wants. That shows you the level of my dullness and stubbornness on the spiritual path, and that it took me so long to realize maybe my spiritual master wants something else. And great deal of tolerance that both of you had with me, dealing with my stubborn and rather dull nature. So I thank you for that.
I think what was important at that time, Advaita, is you were so committed. Even though you wanted to go, you never left.
Well, yeah, it was hard. It was hard to leave because Giranagari devotees are so sweet. They're so sweet, and they simply, and I'm sure those devotees who lived in Giranagari at those times, at times when Guru Maharaj was still around, even, what was the rule? You're a guest there for what, 2 days? What was it? 2 days? You're a guest for 2 days. After 2 days, you're part of us, and you get plugged in like right away. So. Yeah. And anybody who stay there more than 2 days, I would say even less than 2 days, they can attest to that Giranagari devotees are so sweet. They get you, they simply like, steal your heart. Yeah, they simply steal your heart. So it wasn't difficult. Like, it wasn't difficult to stay. And I did have a commitment, previous commitment. However, it wasn't that difficult to stay, considering the environment and nature of devotees who were there at that time. And it was wonderful. Looking back now, no regrets, whatsoever. Just the opposite. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful that I didn't divert from that trajectory that led me to spend so many years there and have so many wonderful experiences. How much more time we have?
Well, I was thinking, Advaita, about when Guru Maharaj was getting ready to leave his body, just kind of, just there was a need, and you became the temple president. Want to share anything about that?
Well, that was by default. In my mind, in my heart, I kept Ekavira Prabhu's shoes on my head as Lakshman kept Lord Ram's. And I did it as a service to Ekavira Prabhu. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. But I wouldn't like to talk about that for whatever remaining time is left. I would like to look at my notes and share some other more ecstatic, well, from my angle, from my point of view, more ecstatic things. Let me see. Oh, he always, it was very amazing. This will reflect on Guru Maharaj and how great of a gentleman he was. He always called me Prabhu. Like, you have that experience. I know, I'm sure more devotees have that experience. He always called me Prabhu, and he always was very sensitive and considerate of Radha Damodar's schedule. Like when he would come back from his world tours, he would call me up and say, you know, how's your schedule tonight? Like, you know, he didn't say like, hey, I'm dressing the deities. Would you mind, like, do you mind coming and, you know, give me a company reading or whatever, you know. Sometimes I would give him massages, but he wouldn't like barge in. He would just always be like very considerate of my schedule to Prabhupada's project. And he would ask me, how's your schedule? And I was thinking like, how's my schedule? Like my schedule is whatever you say. But in the same time, like he just wouldn't let me off the hook and said, no, you have the, you know, deity service. Can you cover it? Can you cover it? So you can come and give me company, and you can read from me while I'm dressing the deities, or you can give me a massage or whatever. So that was a very nice, and one of the first instructions that when I was serving him lunch, one of those first days, you know, they asked me when I arrived after a few days, you know, they asked me to serve him lunch. He asked me to take notes, to write. He says, you should take notes and write of things that you're inspired by, which I have. I have like heaps of notebooks. I was just sharing that with Jai there, Prabhu. There's a sheet, like a lot of notebooks that I've filled and that still have to kind of sort things through. And I'm going through this whole years. I'm going through a process of sorting things out and compiling into, you know, some kind of a volume that would make sense. One of the classes that he gave, it wasn't in it was in Gitanagari actually. He was. No, I'll skip that one because there are other ones that are better. Oh yeah, remember that bike ride?
Yeah, how could we forget?
We used to, yeah, we used to. That was also in a maybe first or second year I was there. And that was also happening every time he would come from his world tours. He would call up Bali, or he would like notify that Bali should go and fix up all the bikes. And so Bali Prabhu would do that, and he would collect all the bikes from all around the farm and fix them up. So I don't know, we had like maybe 20 bikes. So there was this family that was visiting at that time. Their family, I think they were from Canada. It was like a family of devotees. It was like a mother, father, and a couple of girls, maybe a son, you know, a couple of children that they had. They also were riding bikes, but they were not aware of or maybe they were, but they were in a separate group. So we took, you know, Guru Maharaj came down and I put a helmet on, and I assisted him with the helmet, and then we took We took a ride from the temple towards the barn. But that family, the whole family, with parents and couple kids, were coming from Govardhan Hill back towards the temple. So like, we're just like coming here at that part of the, from temple towards the garden. And there was like 20 of us. It looked very intimidating. It looked very intimidating. And I could see from that family's reaction, they were like kind of moving aside. Guru Maharaj just slowed down, and I was riding right next to him. And as Guru Maharaj slowed down, we passed that family. He said, "You should join us." And he smiled, with the helmet, with the bike, and all these devotees with him. And he looked at me, he said, "They're probably thinking, what kind of guru is this?" And I laughed. I think Jaidev also heard that. We laughed so much. We had to like kind of stay back a little bit and let Guru Maharaj go, because we laughed so much. The way he said it, and the way he wasn't attached to the, public opinion, so to speak, the way he freely gave himself, and that he didn't care what public opinion would be in a process of him giving himself and sharing that kind of mercy, intimate mercy. That was really hilarious. And then soon after, actually, we stopped. I think Mother Taruni had that little accident where almost our heart almost stopped. She went off the ditch. And we were all concerned for her, but she survived without a scratch. He would always ask before his trip to Europe, like if I was ready so I can go with him. But somehow I was in that legal predicament, I couldn't join him. And that was one of the things that when I look back, I also lament for, that I couldn't accompany him. Remember those, yes, go for it.
Yeah, I have a question just about some of the pastimes that you shared about him. And, the thing about the memory series is we realize that so many of these memories that devotees have are to teach us, different lessons on this path of bhakti. And so in his leadership book, he writes this statement: true leaders, however, always lead from the front. They're associated with the 4 C's: character, competence, compassion, and courage. And I'm wondering if you would be willing to share with our audience, given that you became a leader, in the mission of Srila Prabhupada in serving Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. And how did these 4 principles, how are they incorporated in your life now? How do you see them unfolding, for you as a leader in terms of now the services that you're doing? I'm a little curious about that. We're all eager to hear how Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj gave us so much time. What did we learn from that?
Wait a minute, I thought it was memories of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj.
It is. This is a memory that you're passing on.
Well, it started, like you said, it started with that closing Ancha-lila pastimes of his when I jumped in as a service to Kavira Prabhu in that capacity. Well, funny thing, actually, that was another funny darshan that I had with him. What I rejected, I was like, no, Guru Maharaj, I can't. I already have all these services. My plate is already full. We had that joke in Giranagari. Remember that joke in Giranagari? My plate is already full. So what was the response? Get a bigger plate. Or like when Mother Indrani was complaining to Bali about not being warm enough, and well, not just Mother Indrani, but like devotees were complaining to Bali, was maintaining the fire, the wood stove, and they were saying Bali is not warm enough. And Bali would be like, well, why don't you step outside for 10 minutes, come back in and see how warm it is. It's all about point of reference, right? It's all about point of reference. But he really put me on the spot there. He said, I came up with all the excuses. I have so much service already. It's not my, I have no inclination. It's not my nature to take on that role. I don't see myself. And that's when he interjected. He said, oh, that's very good. That's very good. That makes you qualified. That exactly makes you qualified. Because for him, like overambition was a red flag. I think he mentioned that maybe in some other parts, but like if somebody's like really anxious to take a position and to get that that service and is overly ambitious, that might be a red flag or indication that, you know, there's some maybe ulterior motive or whatever, but not always, of course. But he said, no, that makes you qualified if you don't see yourself. And he said, and in that way, you will also be able to depend on Krishna more. So what can you say on that? It's like a checkmate. So I surrendered. So since then, I ended up in New York with brahmacharis there for some time. And then I got a call, and this is in answer to your question. I got a call from Guru Prasad Maharaj to help him with a project in San Antonio that was really helping, period, because there was nothing there. A couple of Prabhupada disciples that had some occasional sanghas, but so we started something from scratch there. So that was the kind of a area where I could exercise all those 4 C's, and from nothing we created something by Guru Maharaj's mercy and by the mercy of our dear uncles, not only Guru Prasad Maharaj, but one of the first sannyasis who visited that project in San Antonio was His Holiness Gunagrahi Maharaj also. He came and spent some time with us. His Holiness Hridayananda Maharaj. Now I think now I can say, because it was like years back in 2010, 11, maybe 12. He spent His Holiness Hridayananda Maharaj spent a whole month there in his writing retreat with us, and that's the time we had that college program with the extensive prasadam distribution at UTSA, with the club for applied spiritual technology, also dedicated to Guru Maharaj. So yeah, there was a whole decade, like as much time as I spent in Gitanagari kind of training and preparing for what's to come. I think equal amount of time I had to exercise and put things in practice there in San Antonio. And now we are here in Spanish Fork, Utah, doing the same thing. We're trying to help out this project as well.
So Advaita, if there's one thing that you would like to share with our listeners to inspire them, in terms of some of the things, the many lessons you've learned from Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, our Guru Maharaj, what would you share with our listeners?
There's one thing that recently I talked to our godbrother in Croatia, Gora Sankirtan Prabhu. There's one thing that we were discussing, this unity in diversity that we speak about, and he spoke about. But not only he spoke about unity in diversity, but if you can just stay with me for a second and notice the difference. He also spoke about diversity in unity. And there's a subtle difference there, because one thing about what he said is that there's many people who, not only in our movement, but like on spiritual path, in many spiritual movements that are in the world. And we should recognize them all. That as spiritualists, we should try to not just think differently and speak the same thing, but we should also try to think and feel the same. and speak in so many different ways, right?
Maybe you can break that down a little more, unpack it for us a little bit.
Yeah, many many people on spiritual path, they speak the same thing,
Yes.
but they think and feel differently, right? But we should try to see how we can think and feel the same thing, which is, love for each other, love for God, recognizing God in heart of all living entities, but speak and express that in so many different ways. That's the beauty, and that should be encouraged, right?
Yes. Yes.
Rather than speaking the same kind of rhetorical rhetoric from our mind, not really from our heart, something we have memorized without realization, without the bhava, without the feeling. There's a world of difference, and it only comes, what actually makes the difference, and only comes through application. And that's what he urged us all the time, to apply the knowledge, because only when it's applied, it becomes alive. It actually, it becomes vibrant. It becomes useful. Does that
So
make
what
sense?
I'm hearing you say is, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, what you're sharing to all of us is not only unity and diversity, but also diversity in unity. And so
correct.
Yeah.
It's a subtle, and it's a subtle, but also not so subtle. For me, it's a world of difference. But when you say it like that, it makes no difference, right? But actually, there's a world of difference. And that's what spiritual path is. It's not always obvious. Most of the time, it's actually right in front of us, but it's so subtle, it's hard to catch it unless we're internal and we're trying to apply what we theoretically understand, and becomes alive and more visible.
Yes. Kishore, do you have any question for Advaita Prabhu?
Don't have any questions, but I really appreciate your story. It's amazing. Have you ever came back to Croatia?
Oh yeah, we were just there last holidays, and this last year for Christmas we were there.
But just like a guest, right? Not ever living.
My parents, my family is still there. Yeah, just like a guest. Yeah, coming and staying for some time and then coming back.
Yeah, Advaita is doing this amazing service in Spanish Fork, Utah. That's where you are. And yeah, him and Kalindi, his wife, they are both serving so nicely, the devotees there. And I believe Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj is very pleased with you assisting in Srila Prabhupada's mission. So we want to thank you so much.
Well, there's one more thing in regards to the Spanish Fork, Utah. I want to share how it's really amazing that how this project, and I think I shared that with Acharya and Bali some other time on the phone, how this project also developed in a way Guru Maharaj was instrumental, believe it or not, because when Vaibhavi Mataji and Charu decided to come here from California, they were originally in LA. Of course, they served Prabhupada all throughout the world, Australia and other places. But when they came here from California, they were thinking like where to go. They didn't necessarily pick this place like randomly, but they actually followed the book trail. And what I mean by that is that they knew that at that time of a library party, when the mass number of Prabhupada's books were distributed at different universities, one particular library party team, which was Guru Maharaj and I believe was Mahabodhi Prabhu, His Grace Mahabodhi, they distributed in one weekend or 1 week, I don't know what was the time period, but they distributed the largest number of books at any university anywhere in North America. And there was nearby here at BYU, At BYU, it was like a triple or quadruple amount. What normally library parties would distribute at any university, it was like a triple or like more amount of books that BYU took on. So they actually followed, according to their story, Bhai Mataji and Charu followed that book trail, that book score, that book result led them to here.
Huh. Whoa.
And you know, looking back, they did such an amazing job. I mean, from scratch, like there was nothing here, absolutely nothing. They built that log house first. They started a radio station. Then this beautiful temple just unfolded with amazing architecture, you know, Rajasthani architecture, which was unique in North America. It still is, I think. There's no one like it. And just recently opened another one in a similar kind of style in Salt Lake City. These are all like multi-million-dollar projects, and single-handedly like that, you know, couple, a power couple, as they are, with the help of so many other devotees that they step forward, that they, I guess, inspired and they activated in their way. Now, 20 years later, I think next year or 2 years from now, it will be 20th anniversary of the opening of that original temple here in Spanish Fork.
Wow. It's so beautiful that you're there assisting them, because that's one of the qualities I remember about Guru Maharaj is he always appreciated, like you said, you know, serving and assisting his God family. So as I was sharing earlier, you continue to be committed, you know, to the qualities that he has and also to the commitment that he has to Srila Prabhupada. We thank you so very much. We thank you for being on our Memories of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and we hope and pray that you will come back again for one of our other series.
I have so many more that I didn't share.
I have to catch you next time.
I have some of my favorite ones I didn't share. Anyway, time is up. Finish.
So we just gonna need to bring you back, isn't it, Kasheri? We'll come back again. We try to make them short because our experience is shorter, better. People's attention stays at a, you know, they can play it in their car. They
That's
can,
right.
It's yeah. So we try to keep them short, and that way people want more. So
Yeah,
we'll be happy to have you back again really soon. Thank you. Thank you.